Okay, now let's talk about DMS, which is a database migration service. So this allows you, as the name indicates, to quickly and securely migrate databases to AWS. The beautiful thing that it's resilient and self-healing, so your database migration job can recover from failure. The source database will remain available during the migration, which is a good thing. That means you can keep on using the source database while migrating to the target database, and then safely migrate your application over. So it supports many different things. It supports homogeneous migrations. For example, if you migrate an Oracle database to another Oracle database, it supports heterogeneous migration, which is when you have a different database engine. For example, for Microsoft SQL Server to Aurora, and also it supports continuous data replication using CDC, that is a continuous data replication. So you can do one of the migration or continuous migration using CDC, and for this, like you even you need to create an EC2 instance that will perform the replication task for you. So the idea is very simple. The source database is on-premise, and we are going to create an EC2 instance that will be running the DMS software, and then it will insert the data into the target database. So some of the things that you realize in one of the possible sources and targets for DMS, I will give you some pointers here. So source includes any on-premise and EC2 instance database. So Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, SAP, and then we have the DB2. And for Azure, we can even use like the Azure SQL databases. For Amazon RDS includes all of them, including even the Aurora. And Amazon S3. So some targets is on-premise, like EC2 instances and databases. So Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, and SAP, RDS, Redshift, DynamoDB, S3, Elasticsearch Service, and then we have Kinesis Data Stream, DocumentDB. So like the something I want you to notice out of this list is list of like the source and targets is the Redshift is not a source, and DynamoDB is not a source. Redshift is not a source, and DynamoDB is not a source. Elasticsearch Service is not a source. Kinesis Data Stream is not a source, and DocumentDB is not a source. DocumentDB, that's the just the implementation of MongoDB on the AWS. Okay. So the idea is that as long as you are using anything really proprietary to AWS or closed, they don't want you to export data out of your Redshift or DynamoDB or Kinesis or Elasticsearch. They want you to import data into it. So as a general rule of thumb, ask yourself the question, does it make sense for Amazon to export or allow you to export the data easily out of these service sources? And if the answer is no, then it's probably just a target. Hopefully that will help you during the exam. Certainly, if they are allowing you to allowing you to export the data from their resources, even the example of the Redshift, they will lose a potential source of somewhat the credit consumption from the consumer. So that's what they will not actually allow this. So now AWS SCT, Schema Conversion Tool. So this is schema conversion tool, which is to convert your database schema from one engine to another. And for example, if you are doing an OLTP, for example, from SQL Server or Oracle into MySQL, or like the PostgreSQL or Aurora, then you have to change the database engine, and so you are going to use SCT, schema conversion tool. For OLAP, for example, you want to migrate from Teradata or the Micro or Oracle into Redshift. So here is the example. In this example, SCT will be running alongside DMS to convert the schema from the source database to the target database. The one you have to remember is that you do not need to use SCT if you are migrating the same database, to the same database engine. For example, if you are doing on-premise PostgreSQL to RDS PostgreSQL, this is the same as the DB engine. It is still PostgreSQL, and RDS is just the platform. So if you remember, this migration from on-premise PostgreSQL to RDS PostgreSQL is called the replatforming type of migration. Okay, some good things to actually note down or know about DMS. First of all, it works over VPC peering. If you wanted to move from one VPC to another VPC, it works over VPN, either site to site or of software, or it works for direct connects. It supports three kinds of load, like the full load, which is one time, full load extracts and load, and full load plus CDC, which is like the one time full load extracts and load, full load plus CDC. So you have some continuous data replication after the first initial load, or CDC only to just retain just to like the retrain changes. For Oracle, it supports TDE for the source using something like called a binary reader, and for the target, it supports binary large objects, which are the blobs, BLOBs, and which are blobs in tables, and that will have a primary key, and it is also supports TDE. So the idea here is that if you are migrating a blob data into RDS Oracle, then you need to make sure that there's a primary key associated alongside with the blob. Okay, for Elasticsearch, as I said, the source does not exist, and for the target, it is possible to migrate to DMS from a relational database. So therefore, you can use Elasticsearch to do, for example, something like MySQL into Elasticsearch with DMS. We cannot use DMS to replicate the Elasticsearch data itself. You cannot do Elasticsearch to Elasticsearch or Elasticsearch to anything else. If you wanted to migrate data out of the Elasticsearch, you would need to use some Elasticsearch specific tools to export data, and that data may be put into Amazon S3 and then import it somewhere else. So finally, very important thing for the exam, you can combine a Snowball and DMS. So in case you are doing a very large database migration, you may have terabytes and terabytes of the information of data, and so in case you wanted to go everything over the network, that may not be possible, maybe because your network you have been with is too little, or maybe because you have way too much data. And we have seen from like the before, the Snowball is a great way to migrate the data in such cases, large amount of it into the AWS. So you can combine a Snowball and DMS data migration service together to do so. So how does that work? Okay, the following stages happens in that case. First, you are going to use AWS Schema conversion tool SCT to extract the data locally. So we are talking about on-premise, and then we'll copy it into a Snowball edge device. Then you are shipping the Snowball edge device back to AWS, and then after AWS receives your shipment, the edge device will automatically load its data from the will take the data will take the files from the so the Snowball edge device will automatically load its data into Amazon S3 bucket, and then DMS will kick in and will take the files from the S3 bucket, migrate the data into the target store, and then if you are using CDC on top of that, any updates that have been happened while your Snowball device is being shipped will be replicated afterwards to the target data store. And here we get a really good advantage. We get a speed and efficiency of a Snowball and the computer's data replication out of the DMS. So using a Snowball and the DMS is a great combo, and again something you have to remember going into the exam. So that's it for this lecture. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next one.